welcome back to InsideFlix. We're going to be doing our box office report. Rich, tell us what movies made the top 5. Well, this President's Day weekend, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania came in number 1 with $120 million. Going in number 2 was Avatar: The Way of Water with $8 million. Number 3 is Puss in Boots: The Last Wish with $7 million. Number 4 film is Magic Mike's Last Dance with $6.2 million. And around the top 5 is Knock at the Cabin with $4.6 million. All right, let's just dive into it. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania was number 1. Pretty much what the studio expected. It made it as much money as they kind of... it hit its mark. It hit its mark. But despite, hitting its mark, it's also a movie that has gotten a lot of bad reviews, a lot of bad reactions to it, not just critically, but also online. It seems both critics and fans have been disappointed with this movie. So I'm expecting a large drop this coming up week. Yeah, surprisingly, hearing the first reactions for the full reviews coming down, right now on Rotten Tomatoes is at 48% with the tomato meter. But the audience score is much higher than I expected. Right now it's at 84%. And CinemaScore gave it a B. But overall, I've been hearing a lot of negative about the film. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this drops by next weekend over 60%. Raymond, because of the bad press, because of the bad word of mouth, you think it's going to have a huge drop this coming up week?
I think it will. I think this is going to have probably a drop anywhere between 64 to 70%. And I think it's going to be, again, very, very high, close to 70%, because this is a really awful movie. I think this is honestly like one of the worst comic book movies probably since like the 90s. And even those bad comic book movies from the 90s were at least playful and had, they didn't take themselves as seriously as this movie. And this movie is arguably more stupid than something like Batman and Robin. So I'm expecting this to have a massive drop. And I'm blown away that the critic reception for this movie is as high as it is, because I think a lot of people are actually being very generous to this movie.
Yeah, just go on social media right now, and there is a lot of negative reactions to the film, and I think that's just going to continue to snowball. Here's a good thing: it made its money this weekend, as expected. But I think as it continues to stay in theaters, I think those drops are going to continue. And once we hit March, there's a lot of big films coming out in March. So I could really see this new Ant-Man movie drop out of the top 5 really quick and then drop out of the top 10 even quicker. Yeah, on President's Day itself, on Monday, it dropped 44% on Monday. It's going to drop even more during the week. And if that sustains in the weekend, I wouldn't be surprised if this one's doesn't even match Thor: Love and Thunder for sure.
Yeah, I'm very curious how Cocaine Bear would do, because if that's like a surprise hit, then, that's not going to be good for Ant-Man. They've also kind of advertised it, and, the filmmakers themselves have even said that this is an Avengers scale film.
Right.
This was not Ant-Man, budget-wise, this was not an Ant-Man scale film. They spent as much money on this movie as they would on an Avengers film, and I think a lot of that money is going to be lost.
I was actually very shocked to see like some of the biggest MCU supporters out there actually being very negative on the film. And I think even some of the executives at Disney or at Marvel have even reacted and saying something about they're going to maybe slow down some of the productions of these films and TV projects. If they continue to put out these films and TV shows and they continue to have bad press, you think they're going to be forced to make a change. They should, but all of Disney should be making the changes soon. These announcements how they're going to do Toy Story 5 and all that, and Lilo and Stitch, these are desperate moves from Disney. They are not investing in they're not investing
originality,
in creativity, that they're known for. They're going for the basic sequelitis moves that everybody else has been doing. It's sad, really. There's no this is the time for them to do more creative stuff and risk.
Well, in a ways, I guess they are risking it, and they're losing.
In other box office news, we should also add that James Cameron's Avatar: The Way of the Water has officially surpassed Titanic, as it takes the title of third highest grossing film in history. That was expected for a while, and but it doesn't seem like it's going to reach the second spot.
No.
So, yeah. So,
yeah, I was really expecting that Titanic re-release to give it more competition.
mm-hmm. As the list goes, it's Avatar number 1. Number 2 is Avengers Endgame.
Yeah.
Number 3, Avatar: The Way of the Water. And then number 4, Titanic.
Right.
And 3 of those films are starring Zoe Saldana.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if she gets enough credit for that either, but who knows. All right, let's get to the rest of the top 10, Rich. Coming in number 6 is 80 for Brady. Number 7 is Titanic, the 25th year anniversary. Number 8 is Marlowe. Number 9 is Missing. And number 10 is A Man Called Otto. We should also add that Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey came in at number 13 with $652,000. With only 445 theaters, which is a lot more theaters than I expected. But here's a horror movie again, where the trailer was a sensation online, and it was actually able to produce some kind of numbers here or ticket sales.
I think it's impressive for this like tiny film that probably didn't cost very much. I imagine it just cost like probably under $20,000 or something like that, and it's already made 1.4 million at the box office, which is impressive. Fathom Events does charge a lot for their tickets, which it probably did leave a lot of these moviegoers someone to go see this movie pretty disappointing. Like, man, I paid $15 to see this, but yeah.
But it's kind of surprising that a lot of them didn't show up for Knock at the Cabin, because it barely made 30 million so far. Total. And I think we mentioned this a little bit, that like M. Night is not really fully embraced by the horror community, and I think a lot of it has to do that he is much more kind of a suspense thriller. He I don't know. Does he go to these horror conventions? Does he?
No,
I really don't know.
No.
I mean, I don't know what's the disconnect there, but I think that's probably why it's not doing that well. I mean, it's still doing relatively well because it's a low budget film.
Right.
So let's look ahead at this upcoming week. Let's look at what's coming out this weekend in theaters. Rich, tell us. Cocaine Bear seems to be the big movie for this weekend. The film is directed by Elizabeth Banks, and it's a crime comedy about a bear who goes on a coke-fueled rampage. Also starring in the film is Kerry Russell, Alden Ehrenreich, Jesse Tyler Ferguson, Isaiah Whitlock Jr., Margot Martindale, and the late Ray Liotta. So this is the only big movie that's going out wide. I think this is, because of the trailers, it was such a success online. I really think this is going to gangbusters. Yeah, it's a rated R film, right, though? Yeah, it is a rated R film. And I think this is kind of to me, it feels almost like a throwback to the Hangover comedies. But what's your feelings? Yeah, so far it has good word of mouth for the early screenings. I mean, but I haven't heard that much of the turnout so far, so...
You think this movie could, open to what Megan opened at, despite being rated R?
Easily.
30 million?
Easily. I say, yeah. I would say that the marketing has been really well. I think it's appealing to even the youth. I think they're going to sneak in and they're going to go watch this. I wouldn't be surprised.
They're going to pay for tickets for Ant-Man.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this is 40 million plus, but you never know until the reviews come out too. I mean, I think the concept is fantastic. You got a bear who's coked up on cocaine and he goes on a rampage. I mean, what's not to love?
Yeah.
And you got like a really great cast in this. And, look, I have my, fears about Elizabeth Banks as a director, but I think she understood this material. It's also produced by Philip Lord and Christopher Miller, and they have a good record as producers. Even though if let's say it doesn't get the highest scores from critics, I think it's going to be good enough for become a sensation for this week.
Yeah, I mean, it'll get better reviews than Ant-Man.
Yes. I mean, Ant-Man just shows you that, films could be blockbuster hits without the
approval of critics.
Yeah. And I think this one could also be the same, because I think that trailer and in the poster and the marketing has been pretty good for this.
I agree.
Rich, what else is coming out in theaters? Opening in select theaters is Linoleum, which is a quirky midlife crisis comedy starring comedian Jim Gaffigan and Better Call Saul star Rhea Seehorn. Also in select theaters will be Luther, the Fallen Son, which is the new Netflix film adaptation of the award-winning British crime series that stars Idris Elba, of course, and Cynthia Erivo and Andy Serkis. Also opening in limited screens will be The Quiet Girl, the Oscar-nominated Irish coming-of-age drama. All right, now let's look into streaming. What could we stream this week, Rich? The big release on Netflix will be We Have a Ghost. This is the new Netflix horror comedy from the director of Freaky and Happy Death Day to You, starring David Harbour, Anthony Mackie, Jennifer Coolidge, and Tig Notaro. Also on Hulu, Bruiser, the father and son drama starring Moonlight's Trevante Rhodes and Till's Jalen Hall. Oh, yeah, so We Have a Ghost, which is a trailer that I didn't expect that I was going to laugh at. I thought it was funny enough. It's most likely going to be stupid, but I like the concept of David Harbour being a non-verbal ghost. I don't know, call me crazy, but I think that is just stupid enough for me to check out for this weekend. That's it for streaming, Rich? Well, also being released this weekend will be Megan on Peacock, and Babylon will be available on Paramount Plus.
And I believe Megan's going to be the unrated cut, right?
I hope so. I am interested in seeing the unrated cut for Megan. I thought Megan was a blast. I would say it's more of a comedy than a horror movie, but
it's very satirical.
Yeah, I think it's a fun movie. And maybe that'll be a good doubleheader. We Have a Ghost and Megan for this weekend. Yeah, according to reports, it is being an unrated cut and will be available on February 24th on Peacock. All right, I guess that's it for this box office report. We'll be back next week. We'll see the results of Cocaine Bear, and we'll talk about some of the new movies that are coming out next week. All right, thank you for watching InsideFlix.